For more than a decade now, fans of one of gaming's most incredible cult classics have been waiting. Just waiting. Waiting for those gritty, neon-soaked streets of Hong Kong to finally hit the big screen. I'm talking, of course, about Sleeping Dogs. So let's get into the story of a film that has had to fight for years just to exist. Yeah, this is a project that's had so many false starts, so much studio silence, and just long, long stretches of nothing. So the big question is why? Why has this adaptation been stuck in development hell for so long? And what, finally, has changed to give it a real shot? That's what we're going to break down right now. All right, here's how we're going to tackle this. First up, we'll look back at the game that kicked this whole thing off. Then we'll get into the long wait that followed. We'll talk about the star who just refused to let this project die, the action director who might just be the perfect fit, and then finally, we'll ask the big one. Is this really finally happening? Okay, so to really get why everyone's so hyped for this movie, you gotta understand the game itself. Let's rewind back to 2012 and figure out why Sleeping Dogs left such a huge mark on so many people. So, at the heart of it all, you've got this guy, Wei Shen. He's an undercover cop, and he's totally caught between two worlds, his duty as a police officer and the brutal, violent demands of the triad he's trying to bring down. It's such a classic, high-stakes setup, right? You're immediately hooked. And this, right here, this is why the game was pure magic. See, it wasn't just one thing. It was this incredible mix of a living, breathing Hong Kong, some of the most brutal hand-to-hand combat ever put in a game, and a story that felt like it was pulled straight out of a classic Hong Kong action movie. The whole thing was just so stylish, so raw, and man, it felt real. Okay, so you've got this game that everybody loves. A movie's a total no-brainer, right? Well, that's kind of where the story hits a wall. Let's talk about the long, quiet years that came next. This timeline, wow, it just lays the problem out so clearly. You see it right there. 2012, the game drops, gets rave reviews, and then just nothing. The studio that made it eventually closes down, and for years, any hope of a sequel or a movie just completely vanished. It wasn't until very recently that a new champion stepped up to get it moving again. And here's the tough pill to swallow, the reason for all that silence. As much as critics and a diehard fan base adored it, Sleeping Dogs just wasn't a massive blockbuster hit in terms of sales. And in the cutthroat world of big-budget games and Hollywood deals, well, that was enough to freeze the whole franchise in its tracks. But, some projects just refuse to die, especially when someone's passionate enough to keep fighting for them. And that's where Simu Liu comes in. Okay, this right here is absolutely crucial. Simu Liu isn't just signing on to play Wei Shen. He's also a producer. That little +1 means he has a deep, personal stake in this. He's not just some actor they hired. He is in the driver's seat, fighting tooth and nail to make sure this movie gets made, and gets made right. And look, his involvement is already paying off in a huge way. For a project that was basically dead for so long, having a finished script from writer Tease Chun is a massive leap forward. There's an actual story now, a real blueprint. This isn't just a what-if anymore. It's a real, tangible project. And this quote, man, it really gets to the heart of the struggle he's been facing. You can just picture him in those meetings, trying to explain why this game is so special to a bunch of executives who probably just don't get it. The fact that he's so open about it just shows you what an uphill battle this whole thing has been. All right, so you've got the star, you've got the script, but there's one more piece of the puzzle, and it's a big one. You need a director who actually gets the intense, brutal action that made Sleeping Dogs famous. And that's where they found Timo Tchajanto. I mean, if you've seen his movies like The Night Comes for Us, you know his name is basically a synonym for this kind of filmmaking. We are talking brutal, absolutely bone-crunching action sequences and filmmaking that feels raw and real. It's not clean, it's not sanitized, it's gritty and kinetic. And that is why the fans are losing their minds over this. You have to understand, his style isn't just a good fit, it is the perfect fit. This is a director whose entire career feels like it's been one long audition to make this specific movie. He knows how to blend that insane martial arts with gritty, high-stakes drama, which is the very soul of Sleeping Dogs. Okay, so we have the star, the script, the director. All the big pieces are on the board. So, does that mean they can finally get excited? Should we start lining up for tickets? Let's look at the final hurdles. Just look at this comparison. It tells the whole story, doesn't it? Before, there was no major star, no script, no real vision. Now, you've got a passionate star who's also producing, a finished script, and a director who is a master of this genre. Bottom line, the foundation for this movie is stronger than it has ever been. But, and you knew there was a but coming, there is one last giant hurdle. The film still needs a studio to come in, give it the official green light, and foot the bill. Without a studio, this is all just incredible potential. It's not a green light. Not yet. And that, of course, leaves us with the big question. For decades, video game movies have been, well, they've struggled. But with a team that so clearly loves and understands the source material this much, Sleeping Dogs has its best shot ever. The question isn't really if a great movie can be made from this game anymore, it's whether this absolute dream team can be the ones to finally drag it across the finish line.